So a lot of people will say like, oh, are you okay as a greeting, and they don't want to know how you are.
The first thing that comes to mind is don't talk about stereotypes, because there's this weird stigma that British people love tea.
I've heard in some other countries that it's a bit weird to smile, but here it's like it's encouraged.
Welcome back to the channel. My name is Arnaud from France, and in today's video I'm going to be asking British the things that foreigners shouldn't do in the UK in order to be integrated to the UK society as soon as possible. So that's the main topic we're going to find today. So pretty excited. Don't forget to subscribe because it helps us a lot to keep on going with those videos, to provide you with the best content possible. And on my Instagram, I'm sharing my daily life in Sheffield, so you can check that out too. Alright guys, let's do it. Which things foreigners should not do in the UK?
I mean, I think the first thing that comes to mind is don't talk about stereotypes, because there's this weird stigma that British people love tea. And I mean, me personally, I love tea, but like in general, if you walk up to a person and like start talking about like the standard stereotypes, I think that's what would, I guess, offend them or make them feel a bit iffy about you.
All right.
So that is one thing.
Okay. Definition of stereotypes, for example.
There's a stigma that British people, they speak all posh, and no one speaks posh here. Let's be real. There's this also like in terms of British culture, queuing up in lines and stuff like that. Like British people, we do love our queues. So if you come into like a shop and you like push into the queue and stuff like that, that will get on someone's nerves and someone will speak up about that.
And like for example, when like a foreigner is interacting with like a British, there is some things he has to keep in mind to not offend, you know, this person, for example.
Oh, because in Britain there's a very big banter culture.
Oh yeah.
But you have to be aware that there's some people that you can banter with, and there's some people that you need to know your limits in terms of speaking with each other. So depending on how close you are, that's what like that allows you to know how far you can go with jokes.
All right.
So that's one thing to keep, like make sure you know how far you can go with this person.
Do you have like any advice for foreigners wanting to come in the UK?
I mean, in terms of advice, I mean, it's a very welcoming place. Like we're known for being very multicultural, especially in London. That's where I'm from. If you just like, how can I say? I don't want to say stay in your lane, but as long as you don't like go out of your way to offend people, everyone's going to be friendly. Everything's going to be fine.
All right. Yeah, thank you so much for your time. It was really great to meet you. Things that foreigner should not do in the UK, you know.
I would say, so a lot of people will say like, oh, are you okay as a greeting, and they don't want to know how you are. You just say, yeah, I'm fine. They don't, like, if you say how you're actually feeling, that is considered weird. But yeah.
Oh yeah, I can
tell. Yeah.
Me myself sometimes when I say like, oh, are you alright?
Yeah.
And I just like responding by, are you alright as well, but they're not saying anything.
You say, are you alright back? It's just, you say the same thing, and it's like, yeah, exactly. That's
like when you say hello, I guess, in the UK.
Yeah, like that's, yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just how you say hi.
Alright. And for example, like in terms of like manner, which kind of manner a foreigner like, you know, should keep in mind when they are coming here?
Manners. I think like, especially up north, I think people are quite polite and just sort of like, especially like with doors and things like please and thank yous and like holding doors for people is usually quite a big thing, I would say.
All right.
Yeah.
And maybe we need to say something in particular, you know, when you are addressing to like, you know, British people?
Like if you see old people on the street, usually if you say good morning to them, that's usually like quite common, especially with like people that are a little bit older and stuff like that. Just kind of a good sort of community sort of vibe.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And for example, when you are speaking like a British, there is some things you have to keep in mind, you know, to not offend them.
Yeah. Honestly, no, I think you're fine. Like I think for the most part it'd be all right. Yeah.
All right. So there's no like a big topics you have to avoid.
No. Usually don't talk about the government because there's big differences in opinion, and you don't want to like run straight into a conversation that you don't want to be part of, sort of thing.
Yeah, I've noticed that, like, you know, I've been on like a dating app, and a lot of like British girls, they are like mentioning if you're Tory or like
yeah, it's like a big thing, like especially sort of in Sheffield, like people don't like conservatives, and like I have a laptop sticker that's anti-conservative but like yeah, it's quite a big thing, especially in Sheffield. But yeah, so like kind of staying away from talking about politics if you don't really have an opinion and don't want to talk about it, because people will like jabber on about it, sort of thing.
Wow, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. Do you have like any advice to foreigners like coming in the UK, you know, any advice?
Just like if you have questions about things, ask people. Like if there's terms of phrases and stuff that you don't know, just be like, what does that actually mean? And then because you can pick up the colloquialisms and then you can use them, and then you just kind of like flows better and stuff.
All right. And I had like, a question as well. Like in Sheffield, people are using like the term like love when they're greeting someone, right?
Yeah.
It's like a friendly thing.
Yeah. So like. It's especially used by kind of like older people. It's quite a working class thing. So there's things like love and duck and things like that are just kind of like something you say to someone to be friendly. But you also want to be careful if you're using them towards like women that are younger, because some might be like offended. But usually it's fine for sort of like middle-aged and older women. Will be like, that's what a lovely young man, for saying that sort of thing.
Okay, that's super interesting. And it's like only like older people that are using that term mainly, or?
Usually, I mean, I use it as well, but that's because I'm from around here and I've grown up with people saying that, so I use it. But it's common.
Right, yeah. Thank you so much for your time, Chloe. It was really cool to meet you. Which things foreigner should not do in the UK?
Always be polite, please, thank you, stuff like that. People expect manners as opposed to, I've heard, other people say of different countries that English people tend to be quite polite. So it's important to always say please, thank you, goodbye, hello, stuff like that.
When a foreigner is speaking to like a British, there is some things he has to consider, to not offend a British person.
Yeah, you have to be careful with what words you use, because people can take offence, and just don't be blunt. By blunt, I mean like you have to be a bit more easy with your words as opposed to just demanding stuff. I know in like other parts of the world, languages are a bit less. They're a bit more direct even, and you have to. They don't work as much like that in the UK, and you have to be a bit easier with how you talk to people rather than demanding. Whereas other languages and stuff are a bit more straight to the point, whereas not here.
Do you have like any advice, to foreigners coming in the UK, coming here? Any advice?
Just like, I don't know, people are quite friendly here. Just ask questions if you're not sure about, how to approach someone. Or it's always best to sort of study the language a bit and the people who live there, and the way things are done, because obviously everywhere's different. But I'd recommend maybe trying to learn some phrases. Phrases seem to be something that people like here a lot. If you've got like a broad vocabulary, like it's a bit better to do it like that. I think just have a wide range of words that you can use. Like it's a bit friendlier. People like friendliness. Smile a lot. I know I've heard in some other countries that it's a bit weird to smile, but here it's like it's encouraged. Like it shows that you're on good terms already and smiling. But phrases seem to be a way of communicating well with people. I couldn't give you one, to be honest, off the top of my head, but just spice it up a bit, use different language as opposed to just being boring. But,
cool then, and last question, what do you think about foreigners coming in the UK? What's your opinion about them?
I think it's great. Like, the more people we had, the better. More diversity is better. I just love it. More people, the happier it is, I guess.
Awesome.
I think that's the way it should be. It's everyone's welcome, in my opinion. Don't matter where they're from, they should just be here. We're all having a good day, so that's what matters, But,
awesome, That's pretty much it, Jack. So thank you much for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah, awesome. Which things foreigners should not do in the UK?
I'd say don't talk to any roadmen. They're pretty dangerous people,
Really?
Yeah, a lot of them. Well, some of them might just tell you they'll stick you, and then they won't do anything, but they're dangerous. Those little 14-year-olds carrying knives, man. Wow. It's not worth it.
And how can you recognize them?
They'll always be ballied up wearing like face masks and stuff and like Adidas trackies and things. Just walk away, innit? Every time.
You had some bad experiences as well with them?
Oh yeah, a couple in like just in like underpasses and stuff. People trying to like take your shit and you just walk off.
So you get stabbed or like what happened exactly?
I've not been stabbed personally, but I know people that have been and stuff. So it's just not worth it.
Well, when you are like a foreigner is speaking to like a Brit, he has to keep in mind some things to not offend a British people,
I wouldn't say it's easy to offend a British person.
Okay.
We just tend to take things on chin, I guess.
As long as you keep your manners.
Do you have any advice for foreigners wanting to come in the UK?
Bring your raincoat.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Bring your raincoat, yeah. That's about it.
That's a good one.
Always raining.
The thing that foreigners shouldn't do in the UK.
I'd say just maybe don't take people as seriously. We're very sarcastic people. A lot of times people can take what we say maybe a bit too seriously and we think we're being mean, but most of the time it's actually, if we're being a bit mean to you, it's because we actually like you. It's a friendly way, it's a bit of banter, it's a bit of British humour.
Okay.
So that's what I'd say, yeah.
And like, for example, when like a foreigner is interacting with like a British, there is some subject or like some words he has to keep in mind to not like offend the British person.
Yeah, they have to like keep in mind that you can say a bit of stuff that might make them feel uncomfortable, but they'll probably laugh about it. It's the same way, like, if we ever say anything to you or anything, or if it's the other way, don't take it too seriously, because it's a good way of how we communicate with people. Sarcasm is a big part of British humour, and I feel like maybe sometimes people don't get that, but it is a lot of British people just trying to make people feel more comfortable here by introducing them to our type of humour.
Do you have like any advice for people wanting to come to the UK, to get integrated in the UK society? Something they have to learn beforehand?
I mean, the one thing I'd say about the UK society anyway, it's a very multicultural society anyway, so I wouldn't necessarily be too worried about coming over here and feel like you're going to have to really adapt. It's not like that at all. I'd like to say the English society is actually built up of a lot of sides. I wouldn't say it's actually a very much British culture. Our culture is made up of loads of people's cultures, so just carry on feeling comfortable, be yourself. That's what I say. I wouldn't say feel pressure to have to be someone else, because you don't have to be.
And like, there is some taboo in the British society? There is some like taboo subject?
Taboo subject? Brexit. That's probably the taboo subject. You don't want to talk about that. Especially around this city, it'd be a very mixed bag of people, but that's about it. Don't bring it up because people have very different opinions on it.
So guys, don't bring up the Brexit topic. That can, offend British people.
It'll be a very unusual conversation if you do bring it up, that's what I'll say.